on a volcano, bare feet over fire and stone. Yeah, I've lived through hell, but I'm not alone. The edge don't scare me, I've already been burned. Every step I take now is a lesson I've learned.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Dancing on a Volcano. I appreciate you. We've noticed lots of people watching the show, but you're not subscribed, and it would really help us out. If you could just hit the button to like and subscribe us, then you'll see all future episodes of Dancing on a Volcano, starring me. So please, again, I'd appreciate you. You know what I mean? You don't have to, it's not mandatory, but we'd really love it if you just hit the like and subscribe button for us, because we want to send you all this great content. Dancing on a Volcano. Thanks. Second clap. This one's Dancing on a Volcano. Episode, you said, I think 17 or something like that. Who's counting? I'm here with Danielle Neathery. So Danielle is my homie. We met in a church basement. Love Danielle. Serious. So this is the cool thing about this show. So, so one of the things when I was trying to figure out like how to format a show like this, I started doing researching on other podcasters and what they were doing, and found that a lot of the podcasters in the early stages, like, you have these ideas about how I'm going to bring in these lofty, aspirations for, and then some of the podcasters I studied, like most of it was like friends in the beginning. And I was like, well, fuck all the lofty shit. I just want to do friends anyway. Right. You know what I mean? Like if this is something that's not a financial play for me and just something that I love and enjoy doing, then why not just bring people on that I enjoy being with and talking to?
I love that.
The cool thing about this is that as we unfold things, I've had people on this show that I've known for 30 years and still learned all kinds of new shit I didn't know.
Right.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. So we met in a church basement. I'm thinking I've known you for well over a decade.
Okay.
Well over a decade. You're originally from Delco, right?
Yes.
Whereabouts?
Norwood.
Oh, so you're a Norwood person.
I am.
So we shared one of these 12-step home groups together. So we spent a lot of time opening up the doors and making coffee and making people feel welcome. So, and Emily, and kind of a process of service that I didn't show up learning how to do, but I got a lot of benefit from it and still do.
Right.
So now you've been in recovery a long time, decades, in fact.
Yes.
I know that because I keep track. So, let's talk a little bit about, so originally from Delco, originally from Norwood, right? Brothers, sisters?
I have one sister. She's 10 years younger than me.
10 years younger. I have one brother 10 years younger than me.
Oh, wow.
The difference with having younger siblings, I find, is that you don't compete for as much. Did you find that as well?
100%.
Are you close with your sister?
We're closer now, but
Right.
being 10 years apart, I feel like it has a big gap when you're young.
Yeah, because you don't share any of the same interests.
Correct.
Right? You don't share any of the same interests. So, mother, father, do you know what mother and father did? Like, tell me a little bit about your background.
So my mother and father were divorced when I was probably a year old.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I never lived with my father. I lived with my mother. And then my
Okay.
sister was born. She had a different father when I was 10.
Okay. Okay. Did you ever feel any, like, did that seem odd or unusual it's so common these days. It's so common these days, but the farther we go back in the calendar, you know what I mean? I'm sure in the like 40s and 50s, it was almost taboo.
Right.
Right. By the time, I'm in my mid 50s, it was somewhat commonplace. And as the years going on, now it's actually the opposite is the unusual, the nuclear family, whatever they call it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many people do we really know these days that are like that?
I agree.
So, let's talk a little bit about, growing up. So, mom was the primary in the household. Like,
Correct.
what was her life like?
My mom, well, I think you did know my mom. My mom, we lived with my grandparents
Okay,
until I was probably 10, maybe, yeah, probably right before my sister was born.
right.
So 9, we lived with
Okay,
my grandparents, and she was a little wild, and she was definitely still wild after my sister was born
a
too.
little while.
Yes. Yeah, she got into recovery in March of 1999,
Okay,
and my
okay,
sister was born in 92.
okay. So, what do you remember of A Little Wild?
So, often going out at night after I would go to sleep. Sometimes I would wake up and I'm like, "Where's mom?" Just
Mm,
being out. But I had my grandmother at home, so
right.
it wasn't too awkward for me because I just always had my grandmother and my grandfather at home, and my mom, she would kind of come and go and do her thing. She did get a little more routine once my sister was born. I feel like her schedule kind of became a little more norm Monday through Friday.
Do you think I make this observation because my the mother of my first child was primarily raised by her grandmother and grandfather, and she looked at her relationship with her biological mother more almost like a sister
Mm.
in terms of their relationship instead of as a mother. Did you feel like that? Did you feel that, from a standard motherly role perspective, you got more from the grandparent side, or, is that the way it felt for you?
Yes, I definitely can think of sometimes I feel like my mom was like my big sister at some points. Like she would kind of mess with me, tell me stories, which I loved and still love these stories, but like more stuff that you would do with a younger sibling.
Mm, mm. Let's talk a little bit about growing up. So, grade school. What are your early memories of school?
So I have some like first grade memories. I feel like maybe some kindergarten memories, but mostly first grade when I first remember a lot of information. But I did 2 years of first grade, and
Okay.
my wild upbringing might have had something to do with it. I don't know, but yeah, I remember doing 2 years of first grade, and then having that second year really made me feel a lot of discomfort because many of my
Mm,
peers were going on to second grade, and
yeah.
I was staying in first. So
Mm,
that's where some discomfort started to come up for me for sure.
mm. Early dis-ease, huh?
Hmm.
Mm. It's funny how in deeper exploration we start to, if you're willing to peel back the layers and look, you can really see that a lot of the discomfort and pain that led to a need to feel like fitting in or escaping or any of these other things, was really, those seeds were firmly planted very, very young.
Yes.
Um, I was ostracized as a young boy,
Mm.
and perhaps it took many, many years to see how much impact that really had. They call it the formative years for a reason,
Mm.
and formed um, an unstable foundation to build on. So now my parents, on the other hand, were wanted to keep me back because I'm dyslexic
Okay.
and I had difficulty with school. Plus, I was a bit of a late bloomer.
Okay.
So, in comparison to my peers, a little bit behind. But for whatever reason, and I would have to go back and ask, managed to keep me um, with my quote unquote peers, although I don't think they necessarily saw me that way. And then I got left back, I think, I got left back in the ninth grade or 10th grade.
Mm.
And that was that was really hard. You know what I mean? Because I struggled, with school. Mostly because of the pressure associated with peers, and we just never really didn't really fit that well. I don't know if that sounds like something you can relate to or not.
Just a little bit. No, a lot.
So, okay. So, did you have like a core group of, closer friends, and how was that dynamic affected by, early years? Because now you had people that went on to their year ahead of you, and because they're a year ahead of you in school, they stay that way, I would assume.
Mhm.
So, does that create some sort of a different dynamic for you as you get older? Like, because it's a steady reminder every year that here's all these kids that I should be with, but here I am.
Right.
How did that, did that carry with you as school went along?
So I think since it was first grade, it didn't impact me so much. But I later got more grateful that I did get held back, because I then met who is now my still best friend that I
Okay.
did first grade with. And I often would look back and think, who would I even been friends with if I was stayed with those age group,
Mm.
right? But there was some law that was passed, and a few of us did get held back that year because our birthdays were like my birthday's in October. So if you were born after September something, then you got held back. And if you were born
Mm.
before September, then you got to move
And
forward.
I'm a September 9th baby, and I was like right on the threshold. In fact, when I went to art school, when I went to art college my freshman year, I moved into the dorms when I was 17.
Mm.
They had to have a special waiver signed off for me, and I turned 18 within that week or two before school started. So I was like literally right on the edge of that cusp, right on and it could have gone either way. Hmm. It's interesting how, well, children, first of all, children are there's a pecking order, and there's all these underlying dynamics, and there's in modern days, because of some of the impact that's happened in, I think, the after effect of, the deepest levels of school violence that we see, the Uvaldes of the world, you know what I mean, which are horrific, are often manifestations of the inability of the system to oversight and assist in those complex dynamics between children. And it leaves some children left out for abuse, neglect, um, intimidation, and all these other things. Um, and I think that, the idea of like no bullying and a lot of the things that have come in more recent years, they didn't really exist when I was a kid growing up. They just kind of like, the teachers just kind of thought like, it was like Lord of the Flies on the playground, and that's what it was, right? I'm not sure if that sounds familiar to you or whatever, but, I often thought to myself, and I'm not necessarily sure upon further reflection that helicopter parenting or helicopter teachering,
Mhm.
right, is 100% the solution, because these are human dynamics. Like, this is how, in adult society, people are still trying to figure out like where they sit in the socioeconomic strata, all that other shit. It's all bullshit. But if you isolate children too much from it, then they never really learn. But if you don't pay attention to it at all, you can have outliers who the impact can be devastating over a lifetime. Hmm. So, what would you say? So let's talk a little bit about your friend. So you said you still have your best friend now, right?
Yes.
Right. What's your best friend's name?
Her name's Andrea.
Andrea. Is she one of us?
No.
Okay, cool. Okay, can she relate to some? Is there certain things about us that she can't relate to? Do you think, or?
Yeah, I'd have to ask her, but I think she can definitely relate and understand.
Right, right, right. Well, you had a household with other people's with substance abuse issues, specifically mom,
Right.
right? So, and she was setting the standard for what recovery looked like. What was that dynamic like as you got older and you found your way to, you know, a means of escape? And here was somebody who had been down that path. I mean, was there conflict between you, or what was that dynamic like?
It was definitely interesting. So I remember when my mom got into the program, she would often say to me like, "Oh, you should come to hear me speak, or you should come to a meeting with me." And I was like, "I'm not coming to a meeting with you." But she was very subtle about it. She wasn't like, "You need to," but she was just like trying to make it attractive, I think.
Mm.
My
What
mother
would
was
you
also.
say? What would you say was the most attractive change in your mom once she found recovery?
Her consistency, there was no like wondering if she's coming home tonight, right? Like she was home, she was home at the same
Mm.
time. She was doing the same things, that consistency I had not noticed ever with her.
Hmm. But as children are, we don't want to hear all that shit.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. I didn't, looking at my father's wisdom, I thought, and I think it's just a natural process for children as they become young adults is, in order to break into their own role of independence, they have to look at whoever the parental figures is. They don't know shit, right? I think and then strangely enough, once, at least for me, into the maybe early 20s, and you get out on your own and then you get the ass kicked. And then you look at them, you look at them differently. You know what I mean? Like even in the unwise, there's wisdom that comes from getting your ass kicked. And the people that create us aren't absolved from that. Like they've already taken an ass kicking.
Right.
Hmm. If your mom was sitting here with us right now, what would be a wise thing she would say
About anything?
about anything at all?
Hmm. She had so many great nuggets of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So let me
I
think.
know. Mm-hmm.
um, I think mostly what I remember I hear in my mind of her saying is to practice gratitude,
Mm.
practice daily gratitude.
Mm. It's the attitude for sure.
Hmm.
Um, I know in the program, as essentials, food and water, they say. Um, but not even just in the program, but just life in general. Um, I either have enough or I don't. Um, but gratitude makes what I have enough. And I've seen people with far less incredibly grateful. And I've seen people with far more with a false sense of entitlement,
Mm.
um, to the point where it's almost difficult to bear. Um, what's your gratitude practice look like on the day to day?
So right now, every morning, as soon as I wake up, I just immediately say to myself, I'm so grateful for waking up. And I start to
Mm,
just list things. My dogs usually start flapping their ears. I'm grateful for my dogs and their flappy ears. I'm
mm,
grateful for this house, to wake up in.
right.
And I just rattle off some things that I'm grateful for. And that sets an amazing tone for the whole day for me.
Hmm. So before we get to gratitude, there is a part of us that, and I'll speak for me, that was completely oblivious to,
Mm.
right? Um, I mean, let's talk a little bit about using, because in the beginning, I mean, how did we start? Was it just alcohol, or how did all that really begin?
Yeah, definitely alcohol, stealing alcohol from parents at parties and such like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting introduced to other things at parties because, like I said, my mom was a little wild.
Mhm. Right.
So there were some other things that, we could acquire from my mom and her friends.
Hmm. Did it s- did it spill over into unmanageabilities with things like school? I mean, where did you really find that it was starting to have an impact that maybe you didn't want to see, but it was there?
Hmm. Most likely school, but I think even more so with like friendships, right? That one girlfriend that I still friends with today, I could see her starting to pull away, right? And that was pretty impactful.
Hmm. Wow. Where would you say you started to reach a point where it became unmanageable enough that you started to realize that maybe a change was necessary?
Probably for me, senior year, um, I was using pretty heavily and I was in, I think it was first period. And I freaked out on the whole class. I was very paranoid. I thought the whole class was talking about me. They probably were. And I just like had a big outburst at school. And at that time, they had asked me to become homeschooled. They asked me to not come to school anymore.
Mm.
So I was pretty aware that there was an issue.
At that point, your mom was clean already, then, right?
Correct.
Right. So, did she suspect that your behavior was tied to using in some capacity? Like she knew,
Oh, she knew. Yeah.
right? So, you come home from that day in school and say, "Hey, mom, guess what? I'm not in school anymore. I'm homeschooled." What was that conversation like?
Honestly, I can't remember that conversation.
Mm.
So it was definitely pretty far gone at that time. But I do remember afterwards having teachers come to the house and give me work. One teacher in particular, like sitting down trying to help me get work done so I would graduate. I remember my mom like fighting with the school to let me walk at graduation. And she was like, adamant about having me walk on that stage, which I probably wouldn't even have cared
Mm.
as much about. But now I'm glad that she did that for me. But yeah.
How about the last week using? What was that like?
So I got clean 12/24/01. So
Mm.
my anniversary is Christmas Eve. Cold. I remember cold, I remember dark skies, gray skies, just feeling like darkness outside and darkness inside.
Mm.
And my mother had said to me if I didn't stop using, I was going to be out after Christmas.
Hmm. So she basically drew a line in the sand.
hmm
How old were you?
I believe so. 01, I think I was 20 or no, 19.
Hmm.
I have to do the math.
Now you said cold. When we say cold, you mean cold turkey cold? Or cold like outside temperature wise cold?
Outside temperature cold.
Right. Right. So did you say, "Hey mom, can you take me to one of them meetings?" Or how did you end up in recovery? What were those last couple days like?
So I should have mentioned when I was right after I graduated from high school, I did have a very short-lived experience with getting clean. I got
Hmm.
clean early June of '01, first time, and then
Okay.
relapsed. So I was going to meetings at that point. I had an overdose, and then they forced me kind of into rehab. They told me that if I didn't go to rehab, I was going to get arrested, which I now found out was not true. They couldn't have arrested me
Hmm.
after the fact. But I went to rehab for the first time in June of '01, and then I got clean in December of '01.
Hmm. So went to rehab, got out of rehab, went right back to it again for a minute.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right. Right. So that meeting, did you go by yourself or did mom take you? Do you
No,
remember?
mom took me and Bill L took me.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sat with you. Right.
Babysat me.
Mm. Isn't that fantastic though?
It was wonderful.
Yeah, it's not fantastic. Probably not in the moment.
Honestly, in the moment, I feel like it was still fantastic,
Right.
unless I'm just delusional. But I think going into a place like that by yourself for the first time is really like overwhelming.
It's nerve-wracking.
It is.
It's very foreign. You don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
That's why when they say cultivating an atmosphere of recovery, right? And then, so my business is I'm in the hospitality business, and a friend of mine, one of the guys I sponsor, says, you know what I mean, like uses the word from time to time in passing, you know what I mean, like in shares or whatever, and and only because I'm in the industry, I kind of look at one point to be like, what is hospitality really all about? And loosely defined, making people feel at home.
Mm.
And so some groups are like, well, we don't really have to have coffee, or we don't really have to. It's not because people need coffee and it's a resource. It's because when you're home, you might want to have a cup of coffee, right? Now, some of those things are a little bit odd. Like, you know what I mean? When you come home, you know what I mean? Like, are people really waiting to hug you? Maybe in some environments, yes, and in some environments, no. Over time, I've had to wrestle with, I'm kind of an extremist.
Mm.
So, and I tend to, especially when I'm fearful, tend to take things incredibly literally.
Mm.
So I remember at a convention, it was one of the first conventions in Delco. They gave me a shirt that said Hug Squad on it. I had a blue Hug Squad shirt. And I treated it like it was a competition. To me, I feel, and still to this day, if I walk into a room, especially a room of people that I don't know, I'll start on one side of the room and hug my way across it. That's a way of convincing my subconscious that I'm safe, right? You know what I mean? Like somehow my subconscious realizes that these people mean me no harm if I hug them all. But I remember at that convention hugging so many people that my shoulders and my chest hurt and standing by the entranceway just getting everybody as they came in. And then one guy came in with a couple shopping bags and I ran over and hugged him. And he was like, yeah, I got Chinese food. It's $24.50 or something like that. And I was like, I hugged the Chinese food guy. You know what I mean? I was getting everybody. But I've also run into situations where maybe somebody wasn't ready for it. Maybe it was trauma tied to it. And allowing people to be where they're at is something that I think comes with maturity and time. Not easy. Not easy. So now you're in the rooms, right? What do you remember of 2 decades ago? And what was different between then and now, just in terms of your observations of what's different in recovery about the way people were and the way it was handled versus what you observe now? What's changed?
I feel like there was even more people, honestly, when I first came around, which is surprising because it was 2 decades ago, but just an abundance of people in the meetings. And I just feel like I don't get to go out at night as much as I did when I first got clean. So that could be, I'm seeing more of the daytime group. It's a smaller
Right.
group.
All the people who aren't working.
You're right. Right.
Or who have day
or
gigs
have
or
different
like,
types of
you and
jobs.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. People who can arrange their schedule to do day meetings like that. So.
Right. So, but I just remember there being a lot of different age groups too. I feel like there was more of a varied age group, like young and way older. And now I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just observing different groups, but I feel like it's more of a like a similar age group.
It makes me wonder how much of these changes are changes that actually happen and how much of these changes are changes in our perception and awareness of what's happening around us.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like my sensitivity to, what's going on around me is limited even today. Turn it on to, post-acute withdrawal symptoms and, an early recovery. And the discomfort that I felt with myself, you know, in my own skin, you know, my skewed viewpoint of what was going on. I remember at one point being like, I mean, I probably had like a year clean, and I was at we were running when I say running, I mean opening up the doors and making coffee at in Norwood, which is I think where we really kind of got to know each other. And thinking to myself that these people don't really know how to do this, because I'm a businessman and I could go down Route 1 and go to Wawa and talk to them and get them to give us all the coffee we want in some Wawa cups. And while we're at it, we can get some food too. And we can beat all these other local meetings because we'll get all the people, because they'll come to our meeting instead of theirs because there'll be free breakfast. And then we'll collect more money than those other groups. So we'll make more donations to our area and region. I'm so thankful that people allowed my lack of understanding of, you know, the traditions that ultimately would bind us together and protect us while I developed a deeper understanding. Like they just treated me with love. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, shut up, kid, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like they just kind of like rolled with me and allowed me to. And then over time you go, oh, wait a minute. Okay. You know what I mean? Like that wouldn't have worked. Well, so let's talk a little bit more about like what your life is like now. Well, before we go there, so you were in rehab, right?
Yes.
How long were you in rehab for?
I believe I got 28 days, but I went to rehab twice.
Okay. So first time out, did you immediately go back to using? You were like, the hell with this? Or did you like stay? How long what was the distance between leaving and being back at it?
I don't know, maybe 48 hours.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah,
long.
it was on you.
But I kept trying. Like I would use, and then I would go back to a meeting, and I would use, because I was living with my mother at that time. So
And she
going to
wasn't hearing it, and you knew that your housing situation was about to get disrupted.
correct.
She wasn't having it. Did you fight about it?
Oh, definitely. I was always very angsty, so I'm sure there was a lot of fighting.
She was proud to take you.
Yes.
Mhm.
And everyone knew me as her daughter. So it was like, you know, my first name may have been unknown.
Right.
You know, I was Barry's daughter.
Do you recall any? Okay, so you went with what? Bill, L, and Mom, right? So, if you can recall, what were like some of the first people that you met that weren't really tied to people that you already knew that, you know, had an impact for you? Like, was there anybody that just out of nowhere you ended up with somebody new in your life that wasn't really tied to Mom or to Bill or to, you know what I mean? Like, was there anybody like that that just kind of like drifted to you or said something to you early on? Any early wisdom that you heard or something that just caught you?
I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's a ton, but I remember specifically one time when I went to get clean again and I wanted to go to treatment for that second time. There was this woman, Jess, at the Folsom meeting, and she heard me share from the floor, and she reached out to me and let me stay at her house that night and took me to treatment the next day. And she didn't have any, as far as I know, she didn't have any ties to my mom. She was just, you know, in the same area, but she wasn't necessarily in her friend circle.
What about like transitioning from the fellowship and into like working a 12-step process? You know, what was it like to find that person that would guide you?
So my first sponsor, I remember seeing her at meetings, and she was pretty close to my age, but she was just really happy and very, you know, talking to everyone, just seemed like just thrilled with life, pretty popular, all that stuff. So I was really attracted to that part for her, of her.
Mm.
And I asked her to sponsor me, and she said yes.
It's amazing how we're attracted to the things that we wish we had,
Right.
right? You know, my sponsor's Big Al.
Okay.
And it was just like, you know, I wanted gravitas. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to be able to walk into a room and have people go, oh, that's, you know, there he is. You know what I mean? Like, for what it's worth. And, you know, it comes from a lifetime of low self-esteem and low self-worth. And, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and a compensation, you know, and, you know, as time goes on, you realize that, you know, people have deeper levels behind the facade. But I'm thankful for those people that had those things that I sensed I wanted before I even really knew what I wanted,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. So how did that process begin for you? She like, listen, we're going to get to work, or how did all that work?
Well, she just was like, you have to call me, start this work. But unfortunately, I relapsed a few times with
Mm.
her, and I can only imagine how that felt for her. But she still kept me on. And then when I finally got clean for real in December, then we started actually doing step work. I was doing like pre-step work. We had to define, willingness, honesty, open-mindedness out of the dictionary. If
Right.
people remember what dictionaries are.
Yeah. Now they throw
They
that shit
just
in
search it up.
Google. Yeah. They're like, hey, what's it? What's this? So, hmm. Did you notice a change more in the immediacy, or did it take, you know what I mean? Like, was there like an immediate, like, aha moment in the process where you noticed some benefits or changes, or did it take time for you?
It definitely took time,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Hmm. So, trying to think about, like, there's, you know, sometimes I'm like, it just spills out of me, and other times I've got 15 questions going on in my head at the same time, or thoughts, and I'm trying to peel them all apart and figure out, like, which direction do we go? Because there's lots of different ways. It's like surfing, you know, the waves behind us, and I don't know whether I go right or left or just get smashed by it. Let's say you've been clean for a few years now. So no, let's talk about some other things, right? So you're married, right? Is that right?
Separated.
Separated. Okay. And you're a business owner now,
Mhm.
right? So, um, yoga practitioner,
Yes.
right? Business is 10-10 truth, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about, like, the benefits of recovery and what your life is like today.
Okay.
So my wife's a yoga practitioner, and I see the benefits that it gives her, right? Would you say that that's part of your spiritual experience, is yoga and a type of meditation for you?
Definitely.
um would you say that that's part of your regular routine? Um, in other words, are there other routines outside of that, you know what I mean, that are blended with that, or just standard meditation, or is a lot of your meditation actually in physical exercise?
I would say a lot of my meditation is in physical exercise. I'm also a distance runner, and just movement in general is very calming for me. I'm not someone who's able to really sit still.
How did you get into the whole distance running thing, by the way? Because I remember at one point I was like, what the fuck?
Hmm.
Like, I with the numbers, and I was like, where the fuck did that come from? Because it wasn't something that you were interested in earlier, was it? Like,
No.
when did you decide you were going to start doing distance run?
It was not, it was probably after my daughter was born, who she's 12 now. So I got into like a 5K at my job, and then that was really fun. And I wanted to just keep going further and further. Like the good, addict that I am, I had to keep going further and further.
Well, what's the longest distance you've run up to this point?
In May, I completed 125 miles.
Hold on a minute. Get the fuck out of here. Yo, hold up a minute. Nobody told me I was getting the female Goggins up in here. Like, what is this? 120, that's like some bad water shit.
Yep.
Like, where did you run 125 miles?
In Arizona, it was called Sedona Canyons.
Hmm. But it's a beautiful place to suffer, isn't it?
It was so beautiful.
Yeah, my wife and I were just in Sedona. I think it was last year or the year before last. And oh, it's red rocks.
I know.
It's like God's cathedral,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Really amazing. Well, what's that like? So where is there's got to be a part in the beginning where the endorphins kick in and you don't really feel any, where is that kind of wear off and you go, oh shit. Like, you know what I mean? Is it like, like marathon level and then you hit that point where it's like it all sucks from here? Where about is that wall, that first wall at?
You pretty nailed it with the guess. So for my first like wonderful feeling, euphoria feeling was after a 50K, which is roughly a little bit longer than a marathon. And then my first real true suffering was during my first 50 miler.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think you've learned from this ultra marathon thing?
I learned how to overcome, suffering.
Hmm. Are you familiar with Goggins?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I think anybody who does what you do has to have a little Goggins up in them
hmm
because, because I think that's really his mantra um, is the suffering is where where the growth is. Hmm. I think there's a metaphor for that just in recovery in general. Do you know anybody who hasn't suffered and they're boring as fuck? You know what I mean? Like I know one or two people in my life that I've met that were like, they really led sheltered lives where they really haven't experienced very much trauma or difficulty or whatever. And they're certainly nice enough people, but there's really not a whole lot to talk about, if that makes sense. Like, to me, all the stories are in the strife.
Right.
So how many long distance marathons have you done at this point?
I don't know for sure how many. I've done a handful of 50Ks, a few 50 milers. Uh, I'm going to be running my fourth official 100 miler in December. So
Mm, it's gotta like turn your cardiovascular system into some super machine type thing, right?
definitely
What does your diet have to be like? You're vegetarian and all that stuff.
I am.
So what's your diet have to be like to condition yourself for that level of running?
Oh, well, I'll be eating a lot of carbs today. I'm running for 6 hours tomorrow. So a lot of carbs, probably some tofu tacos this evening. Um, but yeah, I pretty much eat what I want, but I try to eat pretty clean.
Hmm. Hmm. Does anybody else in the yoga practice decide to come along for the run? I was gonna say for the ride, but there's no ride there.
So not a ton from the yoga community, but I actually just last Friday met another full-time yoga teacher who also runs ultra marathons. He's over in New Jersey, but I'm hoping to recruit somebody if anyone wants to join the ultra marathon world.
Hey Dean, because I'm not volunteering myself. You want to do some ultra marathon, man? 100 miles plus. Man. You gotta get there. I can't. Yeah. I would walk if somebody stole my car. I would walk to the phone to call the police. But I have a lot of respect for it. Like requires a special kind of person, and also because it's a test of metal. It's not really connected to anything else that's that has like a tangible payoff. You know what I mean? Like some people will go to that level for something where there's a prize or a trophy or recognition or all that. And then once you get into like that little genre that you're in, there's really not a whole lot. It's not like I guess it's like bragging rights, but it seems almost like maybe like internal bragging rights.
Definitely.
What's your goal? Do you have a goal with it? Like where are you trying to take it? Or it's just like just tackle the next thing that comes up? How do you select a marathon like that?
Well, it's actually getting harder to select because it's getting more popular, surprisingly. So sometimes you have to get into events a year in advance. Sometimes now there are the lotteries for events. Like I'd like to do this one
Hmm.
event, and you have to get like a lottery into it.
They limit how many people can do it for what reason? Because medical reasons and otherwise, how many people can be monitored in that type of level?
More so permitting issues, like because you're going through some of these really beautiful parks and trails, and they want to keep, they have to limit the number of people that are impacting these trails.
Hmm. The one through Sedona. So I'm assuming that wasn't on the road.
Nope.
You were up through the hills.
Yes.
Mm. Has there ever been a point while you were doing it that you were like, what the hell am I doing?
Oh,
Should I just stop doing this? Or
many points. So specifically that race, I definitely was having a new level of suffer because I had stomach issues early on, mile 30 on.
mm.
So I wanted to quit very frequently. But thankfully, I had a crew that came out to watch me and support me. And then I had a pacer who came to run with me. And no one listened to a word I said about wanting to quit. They just kept making sure I was eating and drinking and
Mm.
moving, just keep moving forward.
So what define pacer? Like what is a pacer is somebody that's willing to suffer with you,
Correct.
but do they suffer the entire event or do they come in sections, right?
Correct. Yeah, typically it's after mile 50, you could have a pacer through certain points, but no one's going to then run 75 miles with you, right? So he ran a few miles, popped out, rested up, hopped back in, and then finished the last I believe it was last 25 with me.
It makes me wonder like the I'm sometimes trying to think about like the overlaps. Like the overlaps between recovery and business,
Mm.
or between business and ultra marathoning, or between recovery and ultra marathoning. Do you find that there are things from recovery that spill over into your mindset when you're digging deep at that level?
Oh, yes.
Um, what about, good Lord, there's 15 questions with this one. So let me just, what would you say you were, and the funny thing is that typically on the show, you know, I don't ask this many questions, but there's all kinds of good ones to ask. So it's almost like I can't help it. Where would you go with if you had to select, right, between ultra marathoning and yoga? And I know that's a, kind of a question that wouldn't really happen. What would be the direction that you think you would go? Do you think you would return back to mostly yoga, if disconnecting yourself from the business aspects of it? You know what I mean? Do you think if you had to make a selection between the two and you were given a choice between one or the other, where would you go with it?
So right now, I feel like my answer would definitely be the ultra running, but
Really?
it should probably be the yoga.
Well, so again, and that was kind of why there was a caveat to that. The caveat was you have a business connection to yoga, you know what I mean? A practice and that type of thing. Do you find that you go to the same internal place while you're in yoga and while you're running? Is it,
Yes.
just, um, would you say that because of the suffering, it goes far deeper in the running than it does in yoga?
I would definitely say so because in yoga, I haven't had too many like experiences with like a lack of pleasure, right? It's still like you're in an ideal condition. Sometimes you're in beautiful countries, right? You're in like a nice controlled environment. Where in running, you're running in the rain, you're running in the cold, you're running through all these different things. Sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's terrible, right? So I really appreciate that diversity and being able to overcome all these different obstacles versus just my mind. I can overcome my mind in both practices.
Hmm. Addicts were gluttons for punishment, aren't we?
There's a lot of us in the ultra marathon world.
Yeah, yeah. What's the name of the podcaster in California that he was an attorney? I'm trying to think of his name now. Oh, Rich Roll.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Rich Roll is one of those guys who, you know what I mean? Like, um, it seems like once people go ultra, it changes them. They never like, do you feel like when you run like a regular marathon, you're like, you know what I mean? Like it's really not, it doesn't hurt you anymore. Like it's
So, fun fact, I've never run an actual marathon. 20,
really,
right, on 26.2. I've never run one. I've only run like 50 Ks. So, that's like 31.2.
really. Do you think that that's something that you'd like to add to your list of things to do just so you can say you've done it?
Yeah, so I was thinking of perhaps running the Chicago Marathon, but again, I think I don't know how easy it is to just get into big marathons like that.
Right. Right. Yeah, it almost seems like if I had a choice for what to do now that you're doing what you do, it seems superior. And I don't, it's not a not, if anybody's watching this who's like a marathoner and they're like, fuck you. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying that if I had a choice for where to run, through city streets and around the parkway versus through Sedona and the canyons, it's a pretty
No brainer.
easy, yeah, it's pretty no brainer choice. Hmm. Wow. But when you go out on these things from a support staff perspective, do you primarily go by yourself or do you bring people with you or how does that really work?
So I've been very blessed. I've always had crew to support me through all the events that I've done.
How many crew does it usually take for 100 miler plus?
So it's usually been my one friend. However, she had a co-pilot come out to Sedona with her, and
Mhm.
then we also had my friend who was pacing.
Hmm. You got a little van with the groceries in it and all that. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
she actually drove her SUV out to Arizona so we could have all of our stuff in her vehicle.
you have really solid friends.
I do. I am blessed.
Solid friends. This is an interesting question to ask somebody like you because clearly you've ascended to the point where you've tackled new goals. And that's a cool thing. What are you looking at right now? When you start running 100 miles plus, right? You're running a business, you've been clean for decades, right? You know what I mean? Like you built a pretty amazing life for yourself. I mean, are you looking on the horizon for something and going, that's the next thing?
So as of right now, just keeping everything like the way it is, trying to stay, self-employed, trying to keep my full-time yoga business. That is my same goal I've been having. So
Right. Do you have how many additional instructors besides yourself involved in?
I believe we have 7 other
Wow.
instructors.
Wow. It's pretty substantial. You know what I mean? I think I remember when you first started it. I remember like because the only reason why I remember is I was like 1010 Truth. I like the name, right? You know what I mean? Like it's really, really cool. One thing's for sure. Your mom's real proud of you. Hmm. Yeah. I think about that from time to time. I think about, those of us that are no longer with us. And I can either take one of two positions. I can take the position where they would be tickled pink or they are.
Mm-hmm.
And both serve my spirit well, but the second more so. You know, you walk like you have 3,000 ancestors walking behind you, and from time to time I'll think about all of those that are no longer with us that had impact and how they live on in us, how their influence lives on in us. And boy, this conversation went a lot of places I didn't expect it to go. I didn't even think I knew about the ultra running. Like I knew you were running, but I don't really think, and that's actually like a really cool thing because there's a humility to it. I follow you on social media. I don't think I saw a whole lot. Dude, if I ran 20 miles, they'd be putting up, you know, I'd have skywriters writing it, Jimmy flew, you know what I mean? Like, you do it, but I guess maybe it's a testament to how much of an internal journey it really is. Right? You know what I mean? Like, you really got to, you're really going hard internally to do that. Does it make everything else hard in your life easier?
For sure.
Wow. Well, there you go then. You want to make everything in your life really easy, pick some really hard shit to do. right? And then it makes it all much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing in a bunch of different ways, because there's parallels to what you're talking about and a lot of the things that I've done in my life that were difficult. But I don't think in terms of physically tasking, I don't think I've ever physically tasked myself to anything even remotely to that level. Do people think you're fucking crazy?
I'm sure many of them do.
That's one thing. I'm like, yeah. Usually, when people, there are different visions of what extremism looks like, and some people look at it and go, "Yeah, that's a good kind of obsession," and other people are like, "That's totally loony." You know what I mean? But I think maybe in a way, maybe I'm better equipped to understand it because of the other commonalities we share. You know what I mean? Like, pain makes me feel alive.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's um reminds me what's important, reminds me of my threshold for what I'm capable of. Wow. Fucking really speechless on this one, man. You know what I mean? Caught me off guard. Well, I mean, for good reason, because it's kind of like one of those things where it's a bit of a mic drop, if that makes sense. It's like, yeah, what do you do? You know what I mean? I do this and that. What do you do? Oh, I run 100 miles and you go, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of people. You say it's become more popular as time goes on,
Yes.
but one in God, 10,000, 20,000. The numbers are extremely remote for people that, and I'm guessing on that. I don't know statistically what the numbers actually are, but my guess is that it would be extraordinarily remote that people would choose to go to that extreme level. Have you ever thought about doing any of the other types of things like um like Ironman type things with the biking and and the swimming or any of that stuff, or it's just
No
let me
desire.
just run until my legs fall off?
Yep. Yeah. I'm not a strong swimmer. I have no desire to become that strong of a swimmer to compete in an Ironman, and biking is just torturous for me.
Hmm. Yeah, to me it would be like, please get me on a bike, because running, oh, so painful for me. Wow. So where can we see you at your next race? Where did you say that was going to be?
So in December, I'm running what's called the Beast of the East, 1213 in North Carolina.
The Beast of the East. How long is that one?
It's 100 miles, but it's about 17,000 feet of elevation gain. So it's going to be pretty challenging.
Fuck. The Beast of the East for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let's also give a shout out to your business, right? So 1010 Truth is located at
Is 6 Yale Avenue in Morton, Pennsylvania.
6 Yale at Morton. You have room for some more attendees?
Of course. And we also have retreats coming up. We're going to Belize in February. We only have one spot left for Greece in June, but
All right, hold up a minute. Hold the phone. All right, so we've got Danielle Neathery here, right, who has been clean for 20 years, right? She's got her yoga practice, right? She's running 100 plus miles at a pop, and they're going to Belize and Greece, right? There ain't no fucking ceiling on this thing,
correct.
right? There ain't no ceiling on this thing. And it's a testament to the hope. It's the reason why we fucking do this thing, frankly, is that there are people out there listening to this right now who are just trying to figure out how to get a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? And getting a day is appealing, right? But what can you do with a day?
Whatever you want.
And I think that there's a second layer of hope in that. I've probably said it before on the show. I've said it out there in the world, but there's nothing more tragic than a life squandered, right? to gain freedom and then to not use it is a travesty.
Mhm.
And I just said this to Dean yesterday. Did you ever hear the story of the elephant and the rope?
I don't believe so.
Read this somewhere in India, and they train elephants. When the elephant's a baby, they drive a stake into the ground and they tie the foot of the baby elephant to the stake to keep him in place. And the elephant will pull on it and realize he's not going anywhere. And then he eventually just acclimates to staying in one place and doesn't pull on it. And then the elephant gets bigger and bigger until he could easily rip out the stake. But he doesn't go anywhere. Dang. Right? Our limitations are the limitations in our mind. And the reason why this is essential that we do this is that, yes, we share hope, for people who are in the struggle, that are dancing with the edge of the volcano. And there's many different manifestations of that. You know what I mean? There's, but this one was more about the dance. Right. And I really think that if you never get off the fucking edge of the volcano, it's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, the dance is what we could decide to do with this freedom we've been given. And so many people that we know, you and I both know, are like that elephant in the rope. And this is a conversation that reminds others that, all you got to do is pull. Right? Fucking awesome. Wow. Okay, Dean. I mean, we're not fucking around these days. These podcasts have been pretty good. You know what I mean? And in the beginning, I'm always the same way. I'm like, in the very beginning of the podcast, I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, where are we going with this? How's it going to, am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to do it? And then we start getting a little further along, and I'm like, okay. And then we unpack something, and I go, oh, wait a minute. Holy shit. I like doing this. This is really cool.
It's very fun. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Awesome. Danielle Neathery, 1010 Truth, ultramarathon runner, dancing on a volcano, episode whatever the hell this is, season 2. Dean says 17. I think I was looking on the screen one day, and I think it said 17, and we were on 18, or 18 and we were on 17. So I'm not sure if we're calibrated correctly. Okay, so episode 17.
Awesome.
Love you.
Love you. Thank you.
Let me get that fist pound. So again, dancing on a volcano. If you haven't hit like and subscribe, tune in. There we go. I'm gonna do it again. Dancing on a volcano. If you haven't hit like and subscribe so that you can tune in, we'll send you the updates. More shows to come, and this one is fantastic. Love you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Where broken men whisper that they've been there. Now I'm dancing on a volcano, bare feet over fire and stone. Yeah, I've lived through hell, but I'm not alone. The edge don't scare me, I've already been burned. Every step I take now is a lesson I've learned. The steps on the wall look too tall to climb, but I took them one at a time. Strangers became brothers, sisters sang my song. They carried me steady when I couldn't be strong. I'm dancing on a volcano, bare feet over fire and stone. Yeah, I've lived through hell, but I'm not alone. The edge don't scare me, I've already been burned. Every step I take now is a lesson I've learned. Now I'm dancing on a volcano, bare feet over fire and stone. Yeah, I've lived through hell, but I'm not alone. The edge don't scare me, I've already been burned. Every step I take now is a lesson I've learned. Now I'm dancing on a volcano, bare feet over fire and stone. Yeah, I've lived through hell, but I'm not alone. The edge don't scare me, I've already been burned. Every step I take now is a lesson I've learned. I found love in the quiet, hope in the pain. Happiness grows like flowers in rain. I was ready to fall, now I'm learning to stand. Life feels lighter with God in my hands. Now I'm dancing on a volcano, with a smile where the ashes blow. The fire tried to claim me, but I let it go. The edge don't scare me, I've already been burned. Any day I'm living is a day I've earned.
This is Source Volcano with a smile where the ashes blow. The fire tried to claim me, but I let it go. The edge don't scare me, I've already been burned. Every day I'm living is a day I've earned.